Hey there, Tommy. This is Samantha Keeler, aka One Tough Chick, coming at you from my bed because that's how my day's going today. And this is easier for me because I am also differently brained, dyslexic, autistic, ADHD tendencies, and I've spent a good 10 years doing hardcore, deep research into why my brain works the way it does and doesn't work the way that it doesn't work. And one of the things that's actually the coolest thing about being dyslexic that I've discovered, and it also answers some questions about why we write the way that we write, letters backwards, words inside out, words drifting around on the page, capital letters where they don't belong, misspelled words. It's because our brains work in 3 dimensions. I'm willing to bet that when you're thinking about things, that you think in pictures. And you think in short movies. I'm also willing to bet that you can take an object and imagine it in 3 dimensions and flip that object around and around in your brain while you're imagining it and seeing it from all different sides. Yeah, your brain works in 3 dimensions. The problem that we encounter when we're trying to read words on a page is that letters, numbers, and words are 2-dimensional. They don't make sense to our 3-dimensional brains. So our brain tries to make it 3 dimensions, and that's where things get fucked up. They've developed a whole bunch of really crazy sounding and crazy looking ways to fix that problem for us. Great book called The Gift of Dyslexia, and it goes into how you deal with that. But me, I haven't really bothered to deal with that because I've figured out ways around it, and you probably have too. And yeah, it's just, our brains are just super duper different. And when we were kids, nobody thought that the way that our brains worked was cool. And I grew up with a man who was absolutely 2000% autistic. He was extremely autistic. He was extremely dyslexic. And you could tell that by looking at the way that he wrote and the tricks that he used to keep his words and his letters the way that they were supposed to be. And you could tell that he was autistic by looking at different behavior patterns that he had that didn't line up with dyslexia. But he was also super incredibly smart. He had a math teacher when he was in 7th grade tell him not to pursue mathematics because, and I quote, he did not have the head for it. As a kind of screw you to that math teacher, he went on to pursue the most math-heavy form of science that he could find, physics. And he didn't just get a associate's in physics. He didn't just get a bachelor's in physics. He didn't just get a master's in physics. He got a freaking PhD. And that's the thing about folks like us. If you tell us we can't do a thing, we will absolutely do it. Not once, not twice, but at least 3 times to prove you wrong. The first time we'll do it just to show that we can. The second time we'll do it to prove the first time wasn't a fluke, and the third time, that's just kind of an F you for doubting us. And yeah, that's totally how most differently brained people cope with the universe and cope with being told that we're stupid and wrong. It's like, no, I'm not stupid, and I'll show you. And yeah, I know I'm not stupid. It's just sometimes when my brain doesn't want to do what I want it to do, those old thoughts just come on back up and go, hey, you can't do this, you're dumb. This is the proof that you're dumb. And no, that's just not how it works. But it's funny how those things that we learn when we're kids, they stick with us. They mess with us forever. I mean, my IQ, depending on how well I'm doing cognitively on any given day, it ranges from about 120 to 127, I think, was the last one that I took. But also when you compare that with what my AQ score is, autism quotient score, is on that day, the lower IQ score definitely lines up with the high autism quotient score, because the autism quotient score is how much I'm struggling that day. The higher it is, the bigger the drama. And I'll tell you, life as an autistic person is so fun. When you're trying to do regular stuff, pay bills. Yeah. How many times I've had my electricity shut off, almost had my electricity shut off, almost had my gas shut off, have had my gas shut off. But I'm not the only one that screws that up, because my husband is ADHD, so yeah, that's a thing. And it's a thing that both me and my husband struggle with, so yeah. Sometimes your partner isn't better at the things you struggle with than you are, but sometimes you just have to power together and figure out the solution. But yeah. Today's gonna be a me hanging out in bed kind of day, because my body is mean and stupid and rude. And sometimes it just doesn't want to cooperate. Kind of like my brain. But, you know, I've dealt with my brain my whole life. And, yeah. Dealt with the body thing for 20 years now. So, well, no. 21 years. 2003. September of 2003. And it's kind of hard to forget about that, because, you know, the body reminds me that the thing is a thing. Ow. But, yeah. If you want to talk more about weird brains and all that, all those shenanigans and what our weird brains can do and what we struggle with, that's a lot of what my channel centers around, is all that. That and the chronic pain thing, that's a huge part of my life. And the anxiety and the depression that accompany both. And the anxiety and depression that accompanies being a survivor of childhood abuse, especially childhood SA. Yeah. Mostly I just try to keep myself on the right track, and if I can help keep other people on the right track, that's all good too. Because, you know, like you say, this world Goes a lot better when you share the love rather than sharing the hate. And our world, well, our country's healthcare system has a lot. It leaves a lot to be desired. And that's something that I talk about a lot too. Because there are off-label uses for meds, there are holistic treatments that work a lot better than Big Pharma. Actually, as an autistic person, Big Pharma is not necessarily the best path for me. Because sometimes I have worse problems from Big Pharma's solutions than the problem that I actually had to start with. Yeah, diabetic, put me on metformin, I get mightily sick. But I've had doctors try to force me to take metformin after I discovered that it makes me very ill. There's something wrong with that, especially since there are other solutions that work better for me than metformin. But they want to force me to take metformin instead of taking cinnamon pills and using Trulicity. Now, there's problems with using Trulicity because without insurance, it costs $1,000. I don't have $1,000 laying around, do you? No. Especially not to toss out there monthly for a 4-week supply. There's something wrong there. But yeah, that's just some thoughts that float around in my crazy brain. And it's like, I've learned to deal. And I grew up with a man who had a different brain. And he taught me his one message to me over and over and over again was that I wasn't stupid, that I wasn't to believe the people that said I was stupid, that I wasn't to believe the people that labeled me as lazy or stupid or just any of that negative stuff that we heard all of our childhoods from people that were not part of our family. He told me over and over again that I was not to believe them because I was very smart, because I was very unique, because I was very different and I could do amazing things. I didn't know it then. I didn't understand it then. It was only after he passed away in 2008 that I really started to figure it out. And that I really discovered what he saw in me, who he saw in me, and that as a parent, he did see me for who I am. And that just made me love him more. Because he saw me. He understood me. And he tried to help me understand me. And that's when you know you had a good dad. And I had a good dad. And it's days like today where I miss him so much. Because he was a good dad. But anyhow, I'll sign off here now, and I'll join you on your live later when you jump up on there. And I share your channel with as many or more people than I share my own channel. Because love breeds love. And hate just destroys. So you're awesome, man. you keep me going, and maybe I can keep some other people going, and we can all make the world better. Catch you later, my dude.